In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to change the lower unit oil in a Mercury Optimax 250 Pro XS. So this process should be the exact same for any 4-stroke or 2-stroke 250 or high horsepower outboard with the silver TorqueMaster lower unit. And it'll be very similar for any lower unit. Here are all items you'll need to complete this task. I'll just post a list here if you want to. Just pause the video if you want to take a longer look. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll take the 4x4 and place that above the prop between the top of the lower unit so the prop can't spin. Then we'll take the 1/16 inch socket, put it on the nut, and just go ahead and break the prop nut loose. So once we get it broke loose, we can just spin it the rest of the way off by hand. So there we go. So now we have the nut off. Now you want to be careful when you take this apart that you keep all these washers in the correct order. But basically what I do is I just set these on top of my 4x4 in order, so I know they're not going to get messed with and I can just put them back on the same way they came off. So then we'll pull the prop off. Then we will pull the hub off. So while you have your prop off, you want to go ahead and just inspect these seals, make sure there's no fishing line or grass wrapped around there. Now that we have the oil pan in place, we can go ahead and start draining the lower unit oil. So to do that, we first want to remove this bottom drain plug, which is down here right underneath the prop shaft. So you remove the bottom one first so that there's an airlock in the lower unit and it won't pull as much oil out, so you can get the plug out without getting covered in oil. And then you come up and remove this second one on the top, so it'll let the air get into the lower unit from the top, and then the oil will run out the bottom. A lot of other lower units will have a drain plug, the bottom drain plug down here in this area, but these TorqueMasters have it back here behind the prop. So let's go ahead and take this plug out. Just take a big screwdriver and twist it out. So then you want to make sure that the gasket is coming off with it, and then twist that the rest of the way out. So then we'll go ahead and take the top out, and as you see, the oil will start coming out of the bottom hole when we get this top plug out. Then you'll want to keep track of all of your gaskets so you can inspect those here in a little bit. So as the oil's coming out of the lower unit, you're going to want to inspect it to make sure that there's not a bunch of water or a bunch of metal shavings. So you can see a little bit of off-colored stuff here in this oil. Now the stuff around the edges was some old oil, so that's not it. But this brown color here coming off, that's just a little bit of water. A little bit like that isn't anything to be worried about, but if you have a bunch, you might need to take it to a mechanic to get your seals replaced. Or a lot of metal shavings, like in this example here, which is an old lower unit, is not a good thing, and that's a very bad sign. You're going to want to take that to your mechanic there too. So you can see the, as I place the magnet next to it, the oil actually moves because there's that much metal in the oil. And this lower unit went out very soon after. It was definitely on its way out here. So if you're planning to reuse your drain plug gaskets, while the oil's drained, you just want to go ahead and inspect them to make sure they're good to go, make sure there's no cracks or anything bad going on with them. And these look fine, so I'll go ahead and reuse these. But you can also just buy new ones to replace them, and then you know you're good to go. And I'll replace these every few times I change the lower unit oil. So as you can see, the oil draining out is slowed to a drip, so let's go ahead and start pumping the new oil back in. So to fill the oil, I'm just going to go ahead and start by leveling the lower unit with the trim. So just place the level on top and trim it up so it's level. So we're good, we're level now, so let's go ahead and start filling it up. So basically just take your pump and put it down in the oil, and it should just screw right on, the threads will match up. And then insert the filler end into the drain plug hole and screw that in until it bottoms out. Okay, so then once it bottoms out, just go ahead and start pumping. So my first quart of lower unit oil just ran out, so I'm just going to swap to the second. These Mercury TorqueMaster lower units take more than 1 quart of oil, so you will need to have two on hand when you start. So while you're pumping the oil, you just want to keep an eye on this top drain plug hole on the lower unit. And once the oil starts coming out of that hole, you know the lower unit is full. So as you can see, the oil started running out of this top hole in the lower unit, so that means we're good to go. And make sure you have a gasket installed. Then we'll just go ahead and do this in the reverse order we did before and install this top drain plug first. So you want to snug that down. Then let's go ahead and wipe this oil off. So this last one's a little trickier just because we have to remove this filler, and then oil is going to start coming out. So we're going to want to get our new drain plug in pretty quick just to minimize that. So again, double check I've got a gasket on it, and we'll screw this out. And of course, the longer drain plug goes in the bottom, and the stubby one goes on top. So we'll screw this in by hand, and we'll go ahead and snug this up with the screwdriver. Now that the oil's changed, we just want to go ahead and wipe all the excess oil off of the lower unit. So then we can go ahead and start putting the prop on by installing the hub. And there we go, that just slid right on. A lot of times it's difficult to get the splines lined up though. So slide that all the way forwards. Then you can go ahead and take your prop and slide it on. And you can take your washers, which I just place down like this when I pull them off, so I know I can just pick them back up and slide them right on. Then just spin the nut on the top. And you will want to replace this nut every now and then, just because the nylon on it will get worn out after a few uses. Okay, so once you get that snug down, just take this 4x4 again, stick it on top of the prop. And you just make sure it's good and tight. Now that we've got the prop back on, we're done. We're good to go fishing or boating again. So I hope you all found this video helpful, and if you did, be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you.